I became popular in StarCraft Chapter 151-160. Thank you all for pressing like and follow. It's an encouragement for each other. I apologize for the translation. You can donate at Kasi Corn Bank 025-352-0310. Then let's start. Chapter 151 Karma. Your Xingui organization, what are you going to do after you get her? To achieve something greater. Curtin's expression instantly became serious. Excellent. This was the first time Chu Yao saw Curtin show such a tone. Sacrificing a child who knows nothing for your great cause. Since you know everything, why didn't you do it first? Chu Yao Yutai almost called his name directly. It's just a second-rate defective product. It has no research value. Curtin sighed. Accept the truth. Sweetie Xiaonan is dead. But because of this Hickson Company's experiment, she will be reborn continuously. In the difference. Container endless torture. Chu Yao is not a saint. Her hands are already stained with blood, this is the path that all cultivators are destined to walk. She used to have many names on her head, the ancestor of the demon sect, the ruthless ghost, the heavenly maiden, the witch. In the eyes of the world, she is cruel, cunning, protective, scheming, and shameless. But other than these shameless people, no matter what her name is, she is just a woman struggling on the path to immortality. Daring to do what others dare not do, and doing what others dare not do, because she still cares about something in her heart. The person or the thing she cares about is Chu Yao's principles and profits. Then, take her back and do the same experiments as Hickson Company. No, Xingui doesn't care about working with these interstellar companies. Curtin waved his hand. We have a gentler method, don't worry about that, Xingui has a way to solve her pain once and for all. Chu Yao stopped talking, Curtin stood there waiting for her answer. And his trembling toes showed his worry at this moment. He didn't have much time left. She was the one who should disappear. Perhaps death is Xiaonan's best destination. Chu Yao said as he handed over the core in her hand. The curtain finally relaxed, and she was about to take it, but Chu Yao didn't let go immediately. Today's cause, tomorrow's result. Chu Yao's tone became serious. She took off her mask, revealing Chu Xiao's appearance. Since I am bound by Xiaonan's karma, I will witness her final moments. Shen Yu, what do you remember? You say it today. Shen Yu's movements stopped. Although he didn't quite understand the cause and effect in Chu Yao's mouth, he could still feel the weight of these words from his tone. He nodded seriously. Chu Yao let go of her hand, and as Shen Yu took the core away, the heavy atmosphere between the two relaxed a lot. Who is Shen Yu? I don't know him. He put his heart into his clothes, and his tone was lively. Stop pretending. Chu Yao rolled his eyes at him. In the entire Xindu, I have never seen anyone who rolls cigarettes with their hands like you. Hickson, the company in advance, I am afraid that the two of them have been exposed long ago. However, Shen Yu was shocked when Chu Yao took off his mask at this time. Do you dare to barge in when you are still afraid of Hickson's spying? Chu Yao was really using a soundproof cover now. However, there was no need to tell Shen Yu all these monks' methods. Xingui, so this is your true identity. Chu Yao put on the blood butterfly mask again. Your real purpose in coming to Ling Yuan Star is also for this core. Chu Xiao, people usually have to be a little secretive, right? It's like I didn't ask you what you plan to do by infiltrating the Bloody Alliance. Shen Yu squeezed his neck, and Chu Yao saw him pick up a piece of skin. He was very uncomfortable. Wearing this mask, actually, it was a mistake. A mistake. Hickson Company's Jiao Tu Sangku. In addition to Bazuxing's headquarters, almost all the planets in the galaxy have branches of it. Shadow. I didn't expect them to have such a big heart that they would place something as important as the core in such a distant place as Ling Yuan Star. Or were they too cautious and deliberately placed the core far away from the headquarters? Instead, they were people with hearts who took advantage of the loopholes. Chu Yao nodded, suddenly thinking of something. Who is the employer of this list? Steel Dome. Shen Yu's answer was short and direct. The top floor of Steel Dome seems to be playing a big game of chess. Many interstellar forces are involved. And the hunt for the core is only part of it. At present, the situation is unclear. The old things in the house are in danger. It seemed that he felt that he had said too much, so he changed the subject. You shouldn't mess with them. This is good advice from your most trusted ally. We've already messed with them. Chu Yao ignored him. Shen Yu proclaimed himself as the most trusted ally. Alright, don't provoke you any longer. Shen Yu shrugged. If nothing goes wrong, let's get out of here. I might be gone for a while. Don't mind me. Lost. Chu Yao wished that he could disappear as soon as possible. At the end of the universe. When we go back, we must let the cat-eyed people search for the origin of this Xingui. Let me remind you that in 20 minutes, Zhixin's surveillance and communications systems will be restored, and their security forces will arrive at that time. Let me remind you. Remember what I just said. I will. Do it. Shen Yu's back disappeared at the end of the corridor. The remaining robot guards did not follow. They stopped working, and they all fell to the ground at this moment. Chu Yao walked around the laboratory and put the brain-connected machinery into the storage bag. She could not put it in anymore. Then he retreated to the door, his arms shaking, and a huge sea of fire burned all the musical instruments. Along with the thick smoke, Chu Yao returned to the exhibition room he had been in before, and spit out a thin layer of black mist as he looked at the stunned animals. Under the black mist, all the animals were sleeping silently forever, including the little white mouse that could speak human language. If it were not for Shen Yu, she might have destroyed that core as well. Looking at the little white mouse that seemed to have fallen asleep, Chu Yao felt a little uneasy in her heart. She had never hated heavenly technology as much as she did today. After all, they were not all the same. The fire had begun to spread, the machinery and animal carcasses were lying together in the fire, and the air was filled with a strange burning smell. Chu Yao used her stealth technique and walked towards the door of this Zhixin company without looking back. I became popular in StarCraft. Chapter 152 Suhwawa. The night was still intense, but the hustle and bustle had not stopped. The vicinity of this Zhixin building was noisy. The Law Enforcement Bureau, the Fire Department, and the private security forces of this Zhixin company were crowded together in cars, and there were conflicts between personnel from both sides, just like the recent Lianjining Villa fire incident. The embarrassment of the Yalai company's municipal administration was also reflected in this. The third continent was related to the internal affairs of other alien companies, and they could only intervene rarely. After all, careless handling could turn into a serious diplomatic accident. However, no matter how the chaos here ended, it had nothing to do with Chu Yao. She changed her appearance and left the crowd. Instead of rushing back to find Princess Ye in a hurry, she went to the place where the two cars exploded. The bodies had not been dealt with yet, and the officers of the Law Enforcement Bureau who had received the report had covered the bodies with white cloth. Chu Yao carefully inspected them, and confirmed the number and appearance of those people with his spiritual sense, then he felt relieved. Since then, this fish-stealing operation has ended, but the truth of the matter may only Shen Yu and Chu Yao know. And the forces behind Shen Yu. Why give the core to Shen Yu? Chu Yao has his own thoughts. The strength of the Mao Yi company is not worthy of the research of advanced artificial intelligence. She is useless, but she does not want to leave Xiao Nan's body to this Zhixin company. The relationship between her and Shen Yu is very complicated. It can be said that it looks like an enemy or a friend, but after being together for a long time, she knows that Shen Yu is not a helpless person. Since he said there is a way, there must be a way. The thread of cause and effect has been drawn, the rest is left to time. After dozens of minutes, Chu Yao gently pushed the door of Princess Ye. As soon as he entered the door, he saw Suhwawa lying on the sofa not far away, curled up into a ball. Why did this woman fall asleep here? She really did not remember the bed. Chu Yao quietly went upstairs, took out a blanket from her wardrobe, and went back to the hall to cover Suhwawa. The sudden weight on his body made Suhwawa open her eyes. Sister Chu, you're back. Why don't you go back to your room to sleep? Aren't you afraid of catching a cold? Chu Yao sat down on the edge of the sofa. Can't sleep. You still have insomnia, isn't that your belief? If you drink wine today, you'll get drunk today. Chu Yao pulled the blanket over. Let me guess, are you thinking about Xiao Nan? Suhua nodded, hiding half of her face behind the blanket. She looked so cute. Chu Yao pondered for a moment. She had already planned what to do with Princess Xiao Nan, but she hesitated when she saw Xiao Nan's appearance. In the past 2 months, Xiao Huo had been the one who had been following Xiao Nan the longest. She should have the right to choose. Therefore, Chu Yao told Xiao Huo what she had heard tonight. Naturally, she didn't reveal everything. But she told what happened to Xiao Nan. Suhuo was shocked after hearing this. In other words, Xiao Nan came from 200 years ago. Suhua sat up after hearing this. It's broken. How can I help you find your mother? Why did it sound so strange? So, Sister Chu, do you want to? Suhua bit her lips tightly and asked uncertainly after a moment of silence. Xiao Nan is not in this era. Chu Yao replied tacitly. Xiao Huo became even quieter. She got up and walked around the hall a few times. Her eyes moved to Xiao Nan who was sleeping not far away, and then to the starry night sky outside the window. She rubbed her head slightly frantically, and her loose hair looked even more messy. Then he rushed to Chu Yao's front. How can you say that with an indifferent face? Suhuo's eyes were slightly red. In that case, why did you bring her back? Why did you bring her back? Let me go, why did you decide Xiao Nan's life so easily? Just because you are the head of the Mao Yi gang, or Princess Yes manager, the president of the company, or the suzerain of some sect. Xiao Huo and Chu Yao, they were together day and night, and it was hard to know anything about the Tianyan sect. Even if the details were not correct, guesswork was still not bad. Chu Yao fell silent. She didn't expect Suhuo to have such a big reaction. Although it had only been 2 months, she and Xiao Nan had already developed a deep relationship. Chu Xiao, let me tell you, as long as I, Suhua, live for a day, no one can take her away from me, not even you. The original person was telling the truth, but isn't she here now? What the hell is this artificial intelligence? Supercomputer. I don't understand it now, but it doesn't mean I won't understand it in the future. I'm still young, I can learn. Starting tomorrow. There's always a way, there must be a way. Hickson Company can't do it, doesn't mean I can't. Just you wait, I will definitely make Xiao Nan a real person again. I want her for the rest of my life. Suhuo held the sleeping Xiao Nan in his arms and ran to his room without looking back. There were also a few little girls guarding the hall who were taking a nap, but Suhuo's voice was too loud and they woke up. What's wrong, Sister Chu Xiaohua? Are you in a bad mood again? Go up and help me check on her. Chu Yao sighed. This might be a good thing. At least, Xiaohuo had the motivation to move forward. Chu Yao went back to her room. She had encountered too many things tonight, and she couldn't sleep for a while. It's okay if you don't sleep. She sat at the table and opened her laptop. Then, she changed her face to a pterosaur, inserted the authentication disk, and logged into the Bloody Alliance's official website. In addition to the authentication disk, logging in also required another layer of facial recognition, both of which were indispensable. After identification, Chu Yao taped the camera again. As soon as he logged in, Chu Yao noticed the difference. The B-class pterosaur was indeed more powerful than the D-class pterosaur. Before she had time to study it carefully, the pterosaur's private message lit up with a red dot. Chu Yao stared at her eyes and noticed that the code of the letter was Master. What's the situation? The Master interrupted. Chu Yao understood the pterosaur's tone of voice. The operation failed. Tong Yes car and the musket seemed to be ambushed, and the number of casualties is unknown. Someone set off the alarm, and I accidentally escaped. The data collection program has learned. Then, the situation, besides you, the survivors are Curtain and Blood Butterfly. The news of the Bloody Alliance is really well informed. Could it be that they also have eyeliner in the Yalai company? The mission's target is in the hands of the poisonous snake. Chu Yao only said something, and she was afraid of revealing something if she said too much. Do you want to cancel the mission? Unexpectedly, the master did not seem to have any intention of taking responsibility, and he did not say that he would let the pterosaur search for other survivors. The patrol did not find the remains of the target at the scene. If you do not give up, the mission will be considered a continuation. I will inform Curtain and Blood Butterfly. Let me think about it. About going to the seaside, let's talk about it. I became popular in StarCraft. Chapter 153 School. The seaside refers to the Alliance's stronghold at the bar in Fisherman's Wharf. Yes, but as soon as possible. The employer is in a hurry. The conversation ended in a hurry. In a few short sentences, Chu Yao extracted several useful information. First of all, his and Shen Yu's identities had not been revealed, but it was uncertain whether they were suspected by the Grand Master. Secondly, this proved that the Bloody Alliance's officials truly maintained a consistent objective pattern, only sending and receiving missions, ignoring everything else, and not investigating the failure of the mission. But her original reward share seemed to be out of reach. The most she had gained from this operation was the identity of the pterosaur. Chu Yao's B rank reward had not yet been acknowledged, which was great. She could finally make a move. Chu Yao had done a little research on the power of B rank assassins. In addition to contacting the secret strongholds in various places, she had also revealed a lot of information that low-level assassins could not access. Unidentified creatures in the Yaxiu Sea area of Ling Yuan Star, the inside story of the unusual weather conditions to the east of Unyielding City half a month ago. It doesn't seem special. She didn't find any valuable information, so she left the website instead, and tried searching for Xingui. It's fine if you don't search, but you'll be shocked when you search. The search page is full of negative news about Xingui. The commotion in the mine is suspected to be related to the Xingui organization. What about Xingui organization announced responsibility for the attack outside the headquarters of the Shenxi Group, and Xindu Criminal Investigation Division has detected multiple pyramid schemes. The Law Enforcement Bureau warns you to beware of Xingui. The most outrageous item Chu Yao saw was, why are hundreds of sows howling in the middle of the night? Is this a loss of morality or a distortion of human nature? The truth. What the hell is this? Chu Yao accidentally published the article So Howling, which was no longer a press release, but a small article. The author used a simple writing style to condemn Xingui's evil act of stealing the pigs in their home. Chu Yao didn't know what to say. It was possible that the reputation of Xingui was too bad, so it could be put on Xingui's head. She flipped through several pages, all of which were reports and articles of this kind, and none of them were seriously published scientifically. When things go wrong, there must be a devil. It's not like Chu Yao hasn't seen the way the heavenly and human media use words out of context. If you want to know the truth, you have to investigate yourself. It was already dawn, but Chu Yao wasn't sleepy yet. She ran to take a shower, wash off the fatigue of the night, and change her clothes. Things were going well so far. Su Huohuo's room wasn't far from hers. When Chu Yao went out, she saw that the little girl who had been ordered earlier had closed the door and retreated. Seeing how they were tiptoeing, Su Huohuo must have fallen asleep. Thank you for your hard work. How was Xiao Hua? It's fine. She's asleep now, but it's just. The little girl was about to speak when another person beside her nudged her. Are you scolding me? It's fine. You don't have to be shy. How should I put this? Chu Yao smiled meaningfully, feeling like a mother. Yes. Sister Chu, you're still quite fierce. The little girl was still a real person, and she still told Chu Yao after hesitating. She kept shouting whether she should study hard or what is the best. Super smart. Another girl added. Yes, the best AI, but she didn't tell us her reason. Sister Chu, Xiaohua, what happened to you? You can't suddenly become like this. It's fine, you should be fine in 2 days. Chu Yao suddenly thought of something. Speaking of which, do you want to learn something with her? Or Sister Chu, stop joking. Xiaohua at least went to high school, and I dropped out before I finished junior high school. If you can make money, how can you have a solid foundation? These girls who had followed Chu Yao since Tianhai City generally had low education levels. This had to do with the dark street environment. They grew up in the dark alleys and the same poor conditions as the inner ring. In order to make a living, and under the pressure of their families, many of them dropped out of school and went out to work. For example, Lin Wu was one of them. However, she had a talent for martial arts, which made her stand out. I didn't ask if you could do it, but if you want to. Seeing Sister Chu's serious look, many girls looked at me and at you, and finally the most honest one replied. I definitely want to. But Brother Chu also knew that even if we study slowly, we are too old. From now on, Brother Chu, even though the income is much higher than before, I still have to send some of it back home every month, plus the usual expenses. There is no spare money for studying. Does everyone really want to go to school? Most people nodded, but of course some disagreed. Okay, I understand. You guys go rest early, leave this matter to me. Chu Yao looked at the real girl, Xiao Yi. When I'm done resting, please help me ask Princess Ye a question. Tell me how many people want to retake the course. Don't worry about money. Xiao Yi nodded excitedly. No problem, Sister Chu, I'll go now. Many girls stopped talking. Hearing their fierce conversation, a smile appeared at the corner of Chu Yao's mouth. With her current financial resources, many things that were never possible before could finally be done. Smart money. Do you want to open a school? Chu Yao turned her head and saw Gong Xiaoran coming from the other side of the corridor with a white mask on her face. I just want to see you. Chu Yao turned back. It doesn't have to be that big. It's okay to have a tutoring school for adults or a night school. I've seen many such schools on the internet. Before, others could do it, so we should be able to do it too. We have to try. Gong Xiaoran nodded. Her mask was still stuck tightly, and it didn't come off because of her nod. This is a good thing. Moreover, some people still need to learn a lesson. You're mocking me for being uneducated. I'm also the ancestor of the Tianyan sect. The more Chu Yao muttered, the lower her voice became. Speaking of which, she wasn't as good as Xia Huo from the perspective of heaven and man. Chu Yao Zhen had never studied, and she was a street slut. Gong Xiaoran smiled sweetly and continued to slap her mask with both hands. Stop joking around. What kind of tasks do you want to assign me? There was a loudspeaker shouting fiercely. Chu Xiao. Get out. Wu Bai put it away. Thank you. Thank you very much for your support. And thank you for the rewards, advice, and monthly tickets. I became popular in StarCraft. Chapter 154 Mercenary. Chu Yao and Gong Xiaoran stopped at the same time, and then Xiaoran asked. What is it? Xingui. After Gong Xiaoran finished speaking, she turned to the window. How to solve this group of people? I'm too lazy to deal with this person. There are many things waiting for me. After Chu Yao closed his eyes for a few seconds, he was like a blind person. It's fine. What kind of bicycle do you want? Chu Yao walked over. I'll send him something good. Chu Xiao, get out. Chu Xiao, get out. It was early in the morning, and the door of Princess Ye was lively. A group of tall and thick men crowded the sidewalk in front of the door. There were about 30 people, and they shouted slogans in unison under the leadership of the leader. These people's clothing was rather untidy, the weather was extremely hot, some wore thick, puffy leather pants, some wore steam gloves the size of a person's head, some wore space helmets with horns on their heads. There were hundreds of flowers blooming, but they were all wild flowers. The only thing these wild flowers had in common was that they were all bare-chested, with ugly scars and colorful tattoos exposed, and they were not kind at first glance. First, everyone also carried terrifying large weapons on their backs, including knives and guns. It was unknown whether they were real or used to scare people. The leader had blonde hair and a well-built figure, which was in stark contrast to this group of burly men. Who else could it be if it wasn't Sun Yu? After he was disappointed at the Chamber of Commerce that day, he had sent people to thoroughly investigate the Mao Yi group, and was determined to secretly take revenge. No way. Both Xiao Ken from the winning company and He Kiasi from the Kingshi company were people he could mess with. So in the end, he could only choose the weakest of the three persimmons. To be honest, Sun Yu was still a little afraid of Chu Xiao, but this time, he was prepared. Sun Yu looked back at the large army behind him with a satisfied smile on his lips. These were mercenaries that he had hired for a large sum of money. You could find this group of people on any planet with celestial beings. There was neither a unified leader nor a strict organization. They were scattered and multi-level, but everyone had their own unique skills. People with high emotional intelligence called them interstellar adventurers. And those with low emotional intelligence call them cosmic workers, because they spend money to do things and do everything. These are mercenaries. Humph, Chu Yao, no matter how good you are at fighting, it is impossible to defeat so many mercenaries. Today, I have to let you know how strong I am. Sun Yu smiled sadly, as if the scene of kneeling down to apologize to him appeared before his eyes. His face became even more proud. Master Sun, it seems that they are not responding. The mercenaries in normal clothes walked up to Sun Yu and whispered. Sigh, do I still need to teach you this? Sun Yu spat on the ground. Just break the door for me. I'm afraid it's inappropriate, it's against the safety management law of Yai Company. What the hell? Hi. You looked at the mercenaries in suits but with a tie on their foreheads in confusion. Is there something wrong? I'll pay. Sun Yu looked at the mercenary in the suit, speechless. Does this young man seem to lack money? Everyone's salary will be doubled. Smash this door for me. Deal with it. Hearing the conversation between the two, a group of mercenaries howled excitedly, and the first one pulled out a large hammer tied to his back and smashed it against the glass door. Stop. Calm and calm, with almost no ups and downs, the speaker stopped the mercenaries' movements with a single word. He didn't seem to have used much force, he just spoke softly, but his voice sounded like thunder in everyone's ears, and he turned to look at the person who had come in horror. A couple of men and women walked towards them. The man was not tall, with sharp eyebrows and eyes full of stars, with an indifferent expression. The woman had slightly curly brown hair, and a pair of half-rimmed glasses on the bridge of her nose, making her look even more bookish. Both of them were wearing the uniforms of the Mao Yi Company, followed by more than a dozen security guards. Running from the other side brazenly, blocking the door. It's Yao Han and Zhang Erwen. Trouble on the streets in broad daylight, right? Turn right and the 3rd Street is the law enforcement office in this city area. Can you treat Yai Company as a show? Zhang Erwen waved her hand. And the girls behind her lined up and opened the door of Princess Ye guard behind. Big brother, we use money to do things, and we don't want to hurt anyone. If you have reason, run away. You act like you don't want to hurt others. Zhang Erwen smiled angrily, facing the servant who was many times older than her. Soldiers, don't be afraid of anything. Then don't blame me for doing that. After the man with the hammer finished speaking, he swung the hammer and threw it at Yao Han. He was quite a gentleman, and he didn't start a quarrel with a woman. It's a pity that he encountered a hard stubble. Yao Han had just reached out and held the oncoming giant hammer in his hand. The big man exerted all his strength, and veins appeared on his arm, but the weapon in his hand remained motionless under the restraint of his opponent, which made his face show surprise. The one with the yellow hair has a broken leg. Chu Yao's voice came from Yao Han's ears. He nodded in confusion. Huh? Yai Company farted. Sun Yu shouted and cursed Zhang Erwen. She was also an old Zhang Hu, and she had never seen such an arrogant person. Where was the law enforcement bureau when Chu Yao committed crimes on the streets? This young master will serve the sky today. Hurry up. It was obvious that a fight was about to start. When he saw the group of mercenaries trying to charge in, Yao Han waved his hand, and all the little girls around him quickly stood up, and the two groups immediately fought. Sun Yu coldly snorted, looking at everyone with disdain. A group of girls with delicate skin and soft flesh also wanted to stop these blood-licking mercenaries. It seems that this cat-tailed company is not very good. The audience had already gathered on the side of the road. Among them, there were a few reporters who could not drive away earlier. These people, after smelling the scent, rushed over, holding video equipment in their hands excitedly, as if they had found the next interesting spot. But Sun Yu's smile soon hardened on his face. I became popular in StarCraft. Chapter 155 Leopard. The two sides went through 100 tricks in an instant. On the opposite side, the group of security girls with good skin and tender flesh not only did not lose, but they even had a slight advantage. Sun Yu also noticed that the thin man, the leader of the opponents, clearly did not move after receiving the hammer, but continued to walk around in the crowd and pointed, "The legs just now were too high, it is easy to reveal the disadvantages. This kind of move is either a one-hit kill or not, and the footwork must be steady. Observe the opponent's observation clearly. If the strength is not strong, change your mind. It's okay to use intelligence to break through the strength. This trick is very good, you have mastered it yourself, it's not bad." Sun Yu was so angry that he almost spit blood from the other party's ease. It was obvious that they regarded the mercenaries as targets for training. "Leopard. What are your brothers doing? After fighting for so long, you still can't beat a few girls, are you still a mercenary?" the strong man called. Leopard took a few breathless steps back. Next, he was the man with a tie on his forehead just now. And now the tie on his head is twisted. "Sun Chao, we didn't expect them to fight so well. These women look like Lian Jiazi, at least everyone must have gotten the 6th level of martial arts. You guys don't have guns, shoot me." Sun Yu shouted angrily, he couldn't accept this reality. "This is..." The leopard looked embarrassed, fighting was still a minor matter, shooting a gun was a violation of the main principle. Many people had seen the disorder and chaos in the new capital recently, and the Yalai company had made great efforts in law and order, to move the gun at this juncture. "I don't think so, because I think life is still long." The fight between the two sides became more and more intense. The little girl finally had a real fighting partner, how could they let it go so easily? And with Master Yao Wen lined up at the side, they felt relieved to use their fists and kicks, and the more they fought, the more excited they became. The atmosphere of the audience gradually changed, originally just for fun, but it turned into enjoying the live-action martial arts show. Even the reporters forgot to record, they all watched the fists and kicks of both sides intently. "Humph, you dare not, I dare, damn it. Mao Yi Company." Sun Yu reached into his arms, and a silver-white pistol appeared in his hand. The leopard's face changed greatly, but he was too busy to stop fighting. Seeing that the gun was pointed at Yao Han. "Brother! Lie down!" Yao Han was stunned, this became a warning from the enemy. It seemed that these people were not stupid enough to end up with Sun Yu, they only worked for money. Sun Yu's face was fierce, and his finger had already pulled the trigger halfway. As the bullet was about to explode, Yao Han's body suddenly flashed, and he passed through many people like a gust of wind, and came to Sun Yu. Raising both arms slightly, squatting down first, then standing up, kicking his right leg in a circle in the air, accurately hitting Sun Yu's wrist. "Ah!" Sun Yu screamed, the kicked hand was smashed into a chicken's foot. And the gun in his hand was kicked away 4 or 5 meters. "Do you see? That's how to use a roundhouse kick." Yao Han didn't even breathe and turned to look at the little girl he was teaching just now. After nodding fiercely when he saw this scene, his eyes were full of admiration. "Give it to me. Kill him for me. I want his life." Looking at the other party's arrogant face, Yao Han also frowned. How could this kind of person live in the Great Zindu? "I broke another hand," Yao Han said calmly. It seemed that the others were talking to themselves. "Look and see." Chu Yao, who was watching the battle from a distance with his spiritual sense, sent another message to Yao Han. If she wasn't worried about Shenxi Group, she would have killed this brainless bastard long ago. This friend Sun is really resolute. After solving the reward problem, why don't you take Shenxi Group directly? What Chu Yao thought was a business war, tricks, strategies, tens of billions of bets, real business war, leading the flow of mercenaries to the opponent's base camp to crush the game. Why are you acting as if you are still on the dark road? Isn't this style a bit wrong? Yao Han nodded. He had already walked in front of Sun Yu. The man smiled and grabbed his own wrist, and he had no reaction until Yao Han had already walked in front of him. "What are you going to do? My father is a nephew." Yao Han didn't bother talking nonsense with this person, so he flew up with both feet, and Sun Yu fell to the ground as if he had a cramp. "Ah! Help! Kill! Kill! Young Master Sun shouted at the top of his lungs. Yao Han originally thought that his actions would cause a riot among the onlookers, but he didn't expect to see Sun Yu lying on the ground like a rotten shrimp. Everyone applauded and applauded. Good fight! Good fight! Someone should have repaired this kid long ago. There were even some heroes who crossed both sides in the middle of the fight and spat at Sun Yu while he wasn't paying attention. The leopard felt a little one-sided when he saw the situation, and he felt a little sorry in his heart. Maybe he shouldn't have accepted Sun Yu's job for money. Those mercenaries were ready to quit, but the little girl was still relentless, and everyone couldn't escape for a moment. Big brother, we lost. Stop fighting. Leopard smiled meaningfully, showing Yao Han his weakness. Yao Han looked around and saw that the other party really wanted to leave, so he clapped his hands, and the girls obeyed the order to stop and returned to their original place. Leopard breathed a sigh of relief, and quickly signaled his subordinates to carry Sun Yu on their backs as if to leave. He still muttered to himself, what was the origin of these little girls from the Mao Yi company? They were much better than ordinary security companies. Wait a minute! Yao Han called out and stopped him. Leopard's face froze. Is this still a matter of settlement? Thank you. Now my surname is Yao, the manager and teacher of Mao Yi Security Company. What's your name? Leopard's face softened a little when he heard this, and he was secretly glad that he had just reminded him, my surname is Lu, my only name is Leopard, and all my brothers call me Brother Leopard. Manager Yao, your people are really strong, and we will bow down to you. Yao Han nodded, I know about the mercenary business. Also, before, you guys seem to have unstable income. Manager Yao means? Leopard asked carefully. You are skilled. Yao Han took out a business card from his pocket and handed it to Leopard. If you live a vagabond life, you can come to Mao Yi Company to find me at any time. Leopard's eyes lit up, and he understood the other party's intentions, nodded excitedly, thank you, Manager Yao. I don't know about my brothers. We are short of people. Yao Han simply replied and led the people towards the door. Chu Yao, who had been watching the battle from afar with his spiritual sense, nodded in relief. Xiao Yaoxi was still open-minded and knew how to win people's hearts. Although this method seemed a bit blunt, it was a good sign. She had just delivered the musical instruments she had brought back from the Zhixin company to King Yu, and she received a message from Gong Xiaoran when she left home. Regarding Xingui, all the information I can find is here. I became popular in StarCraft. Chapter 156 Doll. What surprised Chu Yao was that in the early days, Xingui was a non-governmental welfare organization with the full name of Starlight Children's Foundation. Their slogan was bringing smiles to every child, and they also carried out many projects, focusing on helping children in various situations. But later, something happened in this organization, which made them change from a civilian organization promoting interstellar peace to a radical organization opposing the enslavement of barbarians. They absorbed a large number of members, and their sphere of influence spread everywhere. As the scale continued to expand, the program became more intense, shifting the focus from slavery to the entire system of heaven and man. That was the case, and if that was the case, it was no wonder that they were looked down upon by the high-level heaven and man and poured dirty water. After Chu Yao saw the name Starlight, she always felt relieved. But she should pay more attention in the future. I just want to be a 5-star good citizen peacefully, and I don't want to get involved with the Yellow Turban Army. No matter how good the heavenly and human worlds are, it is not my home. After all, Zhang Erwen came to discuss the safety of the concert a few days later, and so did Yao Han. Chu Yao held a small meeting with them and talked about opening a martial arts gym. While many people were talking in full force, Su Binger walked in worriedly. Chu Yao saw that her expression was not right. What happened? Is there something wrong? Ku. Miss Gu Yu is gone. Su Binger changed her words after seeing Zhang Erwen appear. She originally wanted to say senior sister Gu. Is she gone? Gong Xiaoran looked surprised. Yesterday afternoon, she talked to me. Could it be that she went out for a walk? Sister Xiaoran, I thought so too. But after that, I didn't look for you, even if it's a walk, you can't spend the night. Hearing this, Chu Yao's eyes slightly dodged, and his consciousness immediately swept across Princess Ye's floor. And Gu Yu was not found. But there was another person at the door. The person who came was Lu Shan, Accountant Bai's assistant and disciple. His expression was even uglier than Su Binger's. Sister Chu, a few weapons were stolen from the underground storage room. I checked the surveillance footage and found out. Okay, I understand. Chu Yao rubbed helplessly, rubbing her forehead. The two things combined, she already roughly knew what happened. This young woman's agility is really strong. Adjust your eyeliner and keep a close watch. I want to know where Gu Yu has gone. Xindu. Imported shopping mall. This is a large shopping mall located in the central area of Xindu. Occupying a large piece of land in the heart of Xindu, every inch of land is expensive, showing how wealthy this company is. Today is not a holiday, but there are still many customers. There are people walking on the street non-stop. Compared to the hustle and bustle downstairs, the rooftop of the shopping mall is very quiet. After all, ordinary people will not go up to the rooftop when they have nothing to do. In the shadow of the roof of the foreign shopping mall and the elevator machine room, an ordinary tent stood here. It could not be called a tent, but it could be seen as a tattered curtain supported by wooden rods. The man lying in the tent opened his eyes in pain. His clothes were in tatters, his exposed skin was covered in terrifying burn marks, and his whole body was black as if he had just been dug up from a coal mine. Looking at the top of the tent in front of him, he was dazed for a few seconds. And finally he realized the current situation. He was a venomous snake. A second before the car exploded, he activated a small mechanism on his body, which saved his life. But the impact still knocked him unconscious, and he had no idea what happened after that. I was saved? Set your environment. Before. The poisonous snake tried to sit up, but had to give up on the idea because of the pain that was gnawing at the marrow all over his body. He rolled his eyes to look around, trying to figure out what this place was. Are you awake? It was a woman's voice. The poisonous snake shook its head violently, and no matter where it looked, someone had opened the curtains and walked in. She looked like a girl who was only 13 or 14. The girl was wearing a windbreaker that was several times bigger than her body, and her small white hands were sticking out of the wide sleeves, which made her look even smaller. She had beautiful short curly hair, with wine-red highlights at the roots, and a mask was tightly covering her face. The poisonous snake saw a crying doll drawn on the mask. Were you the one who saved me? The poisonous snake said with difficulty, his throat burning with pain. From the girl's mask, he could tell that she was his colleague, but he still didn't dare to take it to heart. You should be grateful for the green skin on your body. The girl's left hand was stretched out from the large armband, and the poisonous snake saw a revolver spinning at the tip of her finger. The texture on the gun body matched her hair color. Otherwise, Gom wouldn't be able to help you. Who are you? Why did you help me? You can call me darling. The gun left an afterimage on her fingertips. Why? I can help you. I happened to pass by and helped you. Is it smooth? Viper stared at the doll's appearance carefully. He had never heard of a blood human with such a code name before. Whether it was someone other than Ling Yuanxing or the doll's level was higher than his. Why are you so cautious? If I think so, why would I help you? The poisonous snake didn't believe what the baby said, and now he didn't believe anyone anymore. Moreover, the doll's voice made him feel very uncomfortable. She spoke with a strange accent, her tone fluctuating from high to low. Coupled with her immature appearance, she looked like a young snake with a tangerine in her mouth, with a cold sweetness in the cold. I want to contact my master. The poisonous snake pleaded succinctly. You are truly loyal to the alliance. Under the mask of the baby, there was a wistful smile. Let me guess, are there any ghosts on the mission? The snake did not answer, although he really thought so. It was obvious that the failure of this operation was caused by these crazy ghosts. Needless to say, the poisonous curtain now suspected that the pterosaurs and blood butterflies were also with him, and the scene in the laboratory was obviously a joke for itself. The core must have been discarded by the pterosaurs back then. His head was still a little dizzy, and some details in his memory were a little blurry, but this did not affect his judgment. What if it was you? What if it wasn't? The poisonous snake circled the other party. If you are really a blood human, then let me contact the master right now. I don't understand. Then what are you excited about? The gun stopped spinning, and the black hole was pointed directly at the poisonous snake's head. They. Company executive. Do you think these people will work together? You might also expect the madman in the Psychic Institute to smelt gold. What are you talking about? Snake. Poison. Didn't move, and it couldn't move either. Don't be stupid. Your dear master has already put you on the missing contact list. And even if you tell the old man, what are you going to do? Do you want to ask him to help ask for justice? The little boy laughed. It got bigger, and his mask shook with mockery. They don't care about these bad things. Why don't you go to the head of the Law Enforcement Bureau? As long as they have money, they can do anything. The evil snake cursed in his heart. This woman looked crazy. Then what do you want to do to help me? Give me a list of all the people who will do this job. The baby's laughter stopped immediately. Don't even think about killing yourself. I've already taken the poison out of your mouth. It's against the rules. I don't want to be hunted down by the Alliance. How long do you think you can stay like this? The little boy kicked the poisonous snake on the stomach, and the child twitched in pain. My patience is limited. As long as you give me your name, I will let you contact Master. When the time comes, you can do whatever you want, even with your phone. Prove your identity, otherwise I won't be able to trust you. You are really a hard worker. He took out an identification plate with a bear pendant from inside his windbreaker. Do you believe it now? The poisonous snake was silent for a moment. For a long time, and finally succumbed to the baby's pointing and the few people who participated in the operation. The code names were spoken. However, he uttered more than 20 code names in total, half of which were true and false. Oh, I understand. The little boy nodded seriously. Do you understand? I haven't finished talking yet, and... Never mind, no more, you cheater. The little boy placed his hand on the poisonous snake's forehead. Hee. I became popular in StarCraft. Chapter 157 Revenge. The poisonous snake's eyes widened in horror. He calculated thousands of times, but he didn't know that the other party had become a psychopath. Even if he reacted now, it was too late. It was like a giant water pump was pressing on his head, but what this water pump was squeezing was his soul, which brought a deep pain into his soul. Soon, he felt no pain. The poisonous snake's consciousness paused for a moment at the last second. Haha, it's really an unstoppable feeling, every time it's memorable. The doll's body trembled excitedly, then she grabbed the gun handle with both hands, and pulled the trigger towards the half-naked man in front of her. Blood flowers bloomed on his body one by one. Little dishonest bastard, go to heaven, have sex with him, he. Blood splashed onto her big windbreaker, but she didn't care, dancing in circles. Good, her voice kept rising, and it sounded like she was singing, let me think about it pterosaur, blood butterfly, curtain. This name is so ugly, let's start with pterosaur. After using the soul-searching technique, her mental state seemed to be getting more and more unstable. I forgot to install the silencer again. She tilted her head down as if she felt a fuss, but she realized that the chaos was not solely caused by her own gunshots. The doll's consciousness converged with the one-eyed woman. Looks like something interesting has happened again. The doll jumped down from the roof. Damn, where did this guy go? Turn right, someone saw you just now. Send a few more people to the first floor exit. Why do I feel like I'm hearing shooting? Gu Yu hid in the changing room of a fashion store, listening to the chasing outside, her chest heaving violently due to her breathing. 10 minutes ago she shot and killed the general manager of Dongbola department store. Yes, he was the owner of this giant supermarket, and in the basement of this department store, Dongbola had something even more exciting, that was the underground auction hall. She could not forgive this man for his cruelty towards her and her fellow disciples. After Princess Ye learned about the power of the heavenly man's weapon, she secretly concluded her revenge plan. At the moment when the bullet pierced Dong Bole's forehead, all sorts of complicated emotions erupted from the bottom of her heart, but before she could calm down, she had fled to this place under the pursuit of others. She finally got what she wanted, but when she calmed down, she did not feel any pleasure in killing her enemy with her own hands. A deep sense of powerlessness flowed out like a flood, washing away her tense nerves. Gu Yu huddled on a bench in the changing room, staring at the gun in her hand without blinking. Dong Bole, the villain who committed all kinds of evil, the sinner who killed his fellow disciples, and the enemies he had secretly targeted. He died so easily, all I did was point the gun at his head and pull the trigger, it was as simple as eating and drinking water. But what if he dies? Dong Bole is dead, but in the future, countless Dong Bole will replace him. The auction house will continue to operate. This dirty industry chain will continue, and there will be more slaves, humiliation and torture. Gu Yu also noticed the excitement in some people's eyes when he ran away. That was not the happiness of chasing and killing criminals, but these people were secretly happy when they saw Dong Bole die with their own eyes, because they still had the chance to be on stage. The stage play is nonsense. I will appear on stage after you sing. No one cares about the life and death of the slaves. They only care about the scenery on stage. Confusion appeared in Gu Yu's eyes again. Senior Sister Chu, what should I do? Run to the right after going out. There is an emergency exit next to the public toilet at the end of the corridor. If you don't run, it will be too late. The woman said. The voice came from above. Suddenly, Gu Yu looked up and saw a little girl in a long windbreaker sitting on the door of the dressing room, swinging her legs dangling. Who are you? The baby's voice interrupted her thoughts. But it also woke Gu Yu up. Now was not the time to be confused. She stared at the little girl in front of her, and held the gun tightly in her hand. I am who am I? Let me think about it. I am the ambassador of justice. The doll shook her head with a strange accent and said, let me guess. How did you get involved with these human traffickers? Oh, I think it's because you killed their leader. Gu Yu slowly stood up, ready to pull the trigger at any moment. From her words, Gu Yu could guess that this person was not in the same group as the auction house, but she still did not relax her vigilance. Relax. I just ate some dessert. I'm in a good mood. I'll go help her. The little girl looked cheerful and talked non-stop. You in the group. This order, I don't really care about the grievances between the despicable human traffickers. You just said Sister Chu. Who is it? I want to know about this name. Gu Yu looked sluggish. This person had unintentionally heard her talking to herself. She still remembered her sister's order that the matters related to the Tianyan sect must not be disclosed to the heavenly gods. Sister is naturally a sister, she is my senior in the martial arts school. What happened? The whole person stopped being weird. The mask with the doll on it made Gu Yu feel an indescribable pressure. This man was staring at me. The M1933 semi-automatic pistol produced by Steel Dome Company, judging from the barrel and the inscription, it should be a civilian model produced 2 years ago. Don't you guys who practice martial arts hate guns the most? I think you are prejudiced. Gu Yu pointed the gun at her. Weak people are prejudiced, and of course I am not included. The doll started shaking its legs again. Okay, you disobedient cutie, I'm full. She jumped down from the door immediately. When he got down, he had no blood, white hands were about to press Gu Yu's head. Gu Yu was stunned, not because she did not want to move, but because she could not move. This feeling was too familiar, she felt the coercion of a high-level monk on the opponent. She, who had not recovered from her training, seemed to have become grass in the other party's hands at this time, and had no right to fight at all. Special meal. The doll's laughter turned into a joke. At this critical moment, the locker room door was suddenly slammed open. The doll swung around, dodged, and flew out of the door. A blue water sword appeared before Gu Yu's eyes. I became popular in StarCraft. Chapter 158 Battle Technique. Sister Xiaoran. Gu Yu's face brightened, and the excitement was indescribable. Don't be afraid, I'm coming. Gong Xiaoran held the water sword in her hand and stopped between the baby and Gu Yu. Her furrowed eyebrows showed her seriousness at this moment. Her current cultivation was at the 5th level of Qi refining. Although her consciousness had not recovered, he could still feel the pressure of the other party's high realm. This person was a monk, and his realm was higher than hers. Who are you? How did you get involved with her? Gu Yu briefly explained the steps to Gong Xiaoran. She nodded after listening, her eyes fixed on the other party's mask, and a word popped up in her mind. Blood. Wow, what a beautiful sword. The doll did not stop. But after pausing, he rushed to Gong Xiaoran. It seemed that the little girl had seen her favorite toy. In Gong Xiaoran's eyes, he was just a dizzy person, and his opponent was just within reach. She used a strategy with her left hand, and swung the sword in her right hand in a perfect circle in front of her, but the baby didn't care about the sword light at all. A dark red spirit ball condensed from her small hand stretched out and swung the water sword towards her head. With this unexpected move, Gong Xiaoran was not alarmed, took 3 steps back, and whispered, "Protect." Spiritual energy gathered around his body, instantly forming a layer of water blue protective aura. The spirit ball and the shield, there was a fierce collision between them, and the rising wind lifted the clothes on the nearby hanger into the air. Gong Xiaoran felt as if she had been hit hard, her throat was sweet, and red eyes appeared at the corners of her mouth. The opponent's cultivation base was much higher than his. Not bad, not bad. I saw something alive again. Let me guess, you are the senior sister Chu she mentioned, right? Gong Xiaoran knew that she was invincible and had spiritual power. On the solace of her feet, she was hugging him, wanting to grab Gu Yu who was not far away and escape together. She did not want a strong opponent, Chu Yao was not far away, and she must have noticed the fight here. However, when she was about to reach Gu Yu's side, the baby suddenly changed her posture, and pulled out a pistol from her large sleeve with her left hand, and pulled the trigger without the slightest hesitation. Bullets sprayed out, and the aura was torn apart like paper under the fire. Gong Xiaoran's thighs and arms were shot carelessly. Reckless. This is a magic stone weapon. Gong Xiaoran cast a floating spell, narrowly dodging the next wave of attacks. The bullets grazed his scalp. The clerk in the clothing store was already stunned by the confrontation between the two. He suddenly woke up when he heard the gunshots, and hid under the table, trembling. What is that? Oh my god, I seem to see someone flying. The change here has already attracted the attention of others in the mall, and the people who were chasing Gu Yu earlier rushed here, becoming even more confused. Things were getting out of control. Gong Xiaoran knew it was wrong, but the other party wanted to attack Gu Yu, so she couldn't let her hold back at this time. You have to solve the problem in front of you first. Hi, is senior sister Chu so capable? I thought you could play with me longer, it's really no fun. If the doll didn't wear a mask, Gong Xiaoran could see that she was licking her lips excitedly. Let me guess, are you from the Wandering Star? Or Clark, the Ghost Tomb, Feng Yuan, or the remnants of Xixian? Your sister Chu is here. A fierce shout came from above, and the baby was shocked, but the reaction was quick, and the gun in his hand shot into the air. She was fast, but there were people faster than her. A figure covered in black mist descended from the sky, dodging the gunfire at an extremely high speed, then transformed into a young girl and landed in front of the baby. Chu Yao waved her left hand hard and slapped the baby's face hard. Crack! The sound was even louder than a gunshot. The doll was sent flying with a slap and spun in midair 3 times, and the mask fell off in response. She was photographed flying on a floor-to-ceiling glass, and glass shards rained down like rain, but there were no obvious scars on her body. Under the mask was an immature face, and Chu Yao was sure that she had never seen this person before. Spiritual consciousness spread throughout the young woman's body, and Chu Yao realized that this person's cultivation was perfect in refining qi. Judging from the boiling blood in her body, she practiced some secret method of refining blood, just like an old man. Her soul looked a little strange, swollen, turbid, and full of dirt. Under normal circumstances, such a person would either be born with a serious illness, or have practiced a secret method of spiritual perception and gone crazy. Chu Yao used 2 things at the same time, while summoning the Zhuang sword to restrict the other party's movements. as he walked towards Gong Xiaoran and helped her heal her injuries. Be careful, her pistol is a magic stone weapon. Don't worry, she hasn't reached the foundation establishment stage yet, she just finished refining qi. Hearing this, Gong Xiaoran felt completely relieved. It doesn't matter how many levels you refine, as long as you haven't reached the foundation establishment stage, you won't be able to be a match for a foundation establishment monk. The gap in strength between cultivation realms is always like this. Seeing more and more people gathered, Chu Yao narrowed his eyes, and the purple light in his eyes flickered. Xian Ying. Suddenly, the crowd at the noise suddenly stopped, and everyone had expressions as if they had just woken up from a dream, as if wondering why they were here. They turned around and walked away. Even the clothing store employee who was hiding under the table was dismissed blankly. Then, Chu Yao's gaze turned to Wawa again. She had deduced the other party's identity from that mask. She was still at a loss. No matter where she went, she would encounter these bloodthirsty people. If it weren't for the hidden danger, she really didn't want to deal with these despairs. The Zhuang sword floated in front of the baby, and the fluctuations of spiritual power made her heart tremble, making her not dare to move. Are you a doll? Or a doll? Tell me, are you a B rank or an A rank? What mission are you here for? Why do you want to harm my family? The numerous questions stunned the audience. Doll. She didn't expect the other party to know so much about the Bloody Alliance. Wawa didn't answer Chu Yao's question with fear and excitement on her face. She said tremblingly. Are you a second-level spiritual power? No, no. Fairy, Master, please accept the question. I will be your disciple. Hua unexpectedly turned around 360 degrees, bowing down to Chu Yao. Hi. Chu Yao raised his eyebrows. Who are you? Why should I accept you as an apprentice? The wide sleeve wiped away the tears, showing his true feelings. Hat. Chu Yao sneered, waved his right hand, pretending to throw away the magic weapon, but actually holding the Zhuang sword behind his back. This seat does not accept people who do not know as disciples. Let me ask you, which sect did you learn your bloodline arts from? Before the baby came out with a teacher or something, her dodging eyes widened again, and the student was full of brilliance and madness. She quickly took out a dark dagger, jumped up from the bottom to the top, and stabbed at Chu Yao. Go to hell. I became popular in StarCraft. Chapter 159 True Mechanism. I have been watching out for you for a long time. Playing a joke on me? This performance is too childish. Chu Yao did not move. She raised her hand and pointed with an indifferent face. Stop. The baby's crazy expression froze on her face, and her body stopped in place, still in a jumping posture. But fixation is not a panacea. I don't know what method she used, but after a few seconds, her body trembled, and she released her body's restraints. But these few seconds were enough. The Zhuang sword on her back raised a beam of light and slashed at the baby. She could move, but there was no time to dodge. The Zhuang sword cut the doll into two with a powerful momentum. However, the expected bloody scene did not appear. The two halves of the doll's body turned into two blood mists under her screams, sank into the ground and dissipated. I remember you, wait for me. The doll said harsh words, and the blood mist quickly disappeared on the ground full of clothes. No, don't wait. Chu Yao closed her eyes and came to her senses for a moment. Then it turned into a black mist and chased after her. Gong Xiaoran heard her voice, Xiao Yaizai and the others are coming soon. I will leave the work to you. Don't leave any traces. Chu Yao paused and added, Yuanying confinement. The sky, the clouds are getting more and more cloudy. I don't know if it is an illusion, but Chu Yao always feels that Xindu is often hit by rain. When I went out in the morning, the sky was still clear, but in the afternoon, the wind has calmed down, with a slight humidity and coldness. Between the tall buildings and buildings, two figures were galloping on the track, flying like racing cars. One figure is red and black, the other figure is running forward and chasing. They are not afraid of being seen. This kind of speed is difficult for ordinary people to see with the naked eye. Ordinary people can feel the gust of wind blowing above their heads. Chu Yao was a little surprised by the speed of the doll, but it was just a surprise. She guessed that the doll used a secret method to escape to suppress herself. How long can the secret method of the refining period last? If this makes her run away, Chu Yao should stop cultivating. So she stayed behind firmly, not in a hurry, just waiting for the other party's spiritual power to run out, just waiting for the task in her free time and helping solve a lot of problems. Chu Yao was not in a hurry, but Wawa was in a hurry. Damn it, why is this woman still chasing her? I haven't moved at all. Chu Yao's sword had injured her a lot. Such a high-speed treatment had exhausted the baby both physically and mentally, and the spiritual power in her body was exhausted, almost exhausted. I have to think of a way urgently. The baby's brain was working rapidly, constantly looking around the surrounding area, trying to find a chance to survive. She fled madly along the flight path, and after passing through several streets, her eyes suddenly lit up, and she immediately accelerated her speed desperately. The baby's sudden action was naturally discovered by Chu Yao, and she also accelerated her pursuit, and at the same time looked intently in the direction of the red light. What was that? A robot? Not far away, on the roof of an unknown company, there was a human-shaped machine parked several meters high. If she didn't look carefully, Chu Yao would have thought it was a human statue. Generally, it maintained a human form, with a well-structured torso covered in shiny armor, and the silver armor still shone under the dark clouds. Cannon-like weapons hung from its arms and waist, and a pair of translucent broad shoulders, with wings stretched out. The large head seemed to be wearing a large pilot's helmet, with a cross-shaped symbol drawn on the top of the helmet. As the distance got closer, Chu Yao realized that it was not a cross, but a person spreading wings out from behind. Chu Yao did not know which star company's logo it was. This did not affect her judgment on the doll's attempt. She suddenly increased her speed, and the Foundation establishment stage's escape speed was undoubtedly revealed, and she approached the baby at a shocking speed. "Don't try to catch me!" The doll's scream was terrifying. She took out 3 grenades from her windbreaker like a magic trick, pulled out a ring, and threw them behind her without looking back. Thick smoke floated in the air. The explosion of the grenade did not hurt Chu Yao, but it slowed down her pursuit. In just a few seconds, the doll fell onto the roof of the building where the machine was located. There were a few employees near the machine. They were holding tablets and knocking around. The workaholics did not know what was happening. When the explosion occurred in the sky, only a few people looked up. In their astonished gaze, a blood-stained doll descended from the sky. "Get out!" The doll used the last remaining spiritual power in her body to release the impact, and all the employees present were blown away by the red waves, screaming in pain one by one. Chu Yao turned slightly in midair and avoided the explosion of the grenade. As she walked through the gunpowder smoke, she saw a doll jump down from the robot's half-opened chest. An ear-piercing hum echoed throughout the tall building, as if a sleeping dragon was about to awaken, and the clouds in the sky seemed to tremble with the dragon's roar. Chu Yao waved 5 or 6 soul-sucking knives, and the Zhuang sword exploded into the air with a long roar. In a moment, black light and purple shadows intertwined in the air, striking the robot's chest like a meteor from outside the sky. Mecha retreated a few steps due to the enormous force, but only took a few steps back. Hiss! Chu Yao gritted her teeth. What shocked her was that she had used at least 80% of her strength in this strike, but she did not leave a single mark on the robot's shell. It made a loud noise, and the entire building shook. Chu Yao saw that its eyes were blue, its arms slowly stretched out, and it swung 2 to 3 times as if it had adapted. Its back wings stretched out twice as long, and red spots appeared on its back and feet at the same time. Fire! It flew. Chu Yao stood on the Zhuang sword, and a gust of wind ruffled her clothes. A beautiful man-made creature in the sky, like a god of war, floated in front of her, its blue eyes bearing a unique mechanical coldness, looking at Chu Yao as if looking at a pitiful insect. It flew up under the clouds, as if it was born to live in the sky. The buildings and flight tracks behind it were foil, obscured. Above the sky, Chu Yao and the robot stood facing each other. In comparison, her body looked very small. Chu Yao looked at it as if it had returned to the day the sect was destroyed. New model, I'm not that good yet. Chu Yao heard the baby's shrill voice again. As he spoke, the human-like mecha clenched his fists tightly, as if he was moving his joints. However, it should be enough to kill you. My dear. He straightened his arms, and pointed his open hands at Chu Yao. Those who saw the black muzzle in the palm. I became popular in StarCraft. Chapter 160 The Fierce Battle. Looking at the pitch-black muzzle, Chu Yao naturally felt a sense of crisis. No matter what this was, it must not be hard. The mechanical palm lit up, and the light spots converged into a bright spot. It was as if time had condensed here. A laser beam shot out from its palm, and the air passing by twisted. Chu Yao drove the Zhuang sword to dodge the attack at an incredible speed. The thick white line on his thigh passed through Chu Yao and shot at the tall building behind him, tearing the giant electronic screen connected to the surface of the building into two pieces. Lightning and sparks flew everywhere, and the broken machinery fell to the ground, wailing like a falling whale. The screen passed through the flying track, and the passing cars could not dodge. The two crashed violently on the road. The people nearby screamed and honked. It was getting bigger now. In Chu Yao's impression, the bloody people were a cautious group of people. And this was the first time she had encountered someone as crazy as a baby. Chu Yao jumped into the sky above the robot's head. Because this thing was so big, maybe it had too much attack power and not enough speed? But what happened next made her miscalculate. The mecha looked clumsy, but it was very agile in flight. It followed Chu Yao's trajectory and lightly turned from the air, then flew to a high place with her. The mecha's shoulders and hind wings were raised at an acute angle at the same time, and a set of small missiles emerged from its body. It clenched its fists with both hands, bent its arms inward, and a set of missiles sprayed out, locking Chu Yao from a strange angle with grey tail smoke. The last time he encountered this kind of weapon was when he escaped from the Baishan mine. Chu Yao knew their power well, so naturally she did not dare to use her body protection aura to force her to do so. She pulled out the Zhuang sword, creating a strange seal on her chest with both palms, and her figure was indistinct, as if it had merged with the sky, and her evasion speed was twice as fast as before. Ghost Hidden Step Upgrade Version, Night Walking Ju. Chu Yao flew in a large circle around the mecha, the missiles behind her exploded in midair, the white smoke and flames following close behind seemed to be shadows behind her. But there was still nowhere to follow Chu Yao. No matter where Chu Yao went, the mecha would turning to face her. Just as Chu Yao dodged all the projectiles and thought she could breathe, a huge robot rushed towards her with overwhelming momentum. The lasers that burst out from both palms no longer dispersed, but condensed into two light blades. The rotating torso almost danced. The two lightsabers entered the tornado, and slashed towards Chu Yao with unparalleled momentum. The sword movements were simple and unpretentious, and there was no skill at all. But its power was enough to make up for everything. Chu Yao tried to stimulate the protective aura of her body, but it was no different from the paper under the sword. She took out the magic scarf weapon she had repaired earlier, and was cut into two pieces after resisting it for a few seconds. She could only dodge in embarrassment, feeling angry. Why was this thing so difficult to deal with? No, you have to take the initiative back. The night walking art appeared again, and Chu Yao lost a lot of spiritual power to distance herself from the robot. As she retreated, the art in his hand also changed continuously. The spiritual energy in his body was surging, and the purple light that flowed out condensed the phantom image of a giant sword above his head. The purple sword floated in the wind and stood at his feet like an airship. Two large swords, one solid and the other empty, were raised and the other stood on the ground and shot into the sky. Dozens and hundreds of soul-sucking knives circled behind him. Not enough. Chu Yao exhaled heavily, spat out Yin Zi's soul fire, and squeezed out a few drops of blood essence to decorate it. The blood-stained index finger drew intricate patterns in the air, and the shadows of demon gods that looked like monsters appeared and disappeared in the enormous soul fire. The soul image was very unstable, as if a gust of wind would dissipate it. Isn't the spell in the golden core stage too hesitant? I can only try it first. All of this was done in a matter of seconds. With Chu Yao's clenched palm, the giant sword, soul knife, soul fire, and ghost image were all merged into one in the radiating light. This fusion method had already surpassed the scope of ordinary foundation establishment. Yutai could now do it, to release the strongest power. The mecha controlled by the infant did not sit still. As Chu Yao was casting spells, it rushed towards her with full force as if it was going to crush her. Go! Chu Yao pointed. The bright purple giant sword that gathered countless Dao techniques was like a rainbow, and black smoke curled with spirit fire and circled around the sword, like a feather belt across the sky. I don't know if it was carelessness or overconfidence, but the infant did not choose to dodge. Under her operation, the entire body of the mecha shone with a white light as if the entire body was wrapped in a bright ball, and collided with the giant sword. Bam! There was a loud earthquake. Chu Yao summoned spirit light to protect her body, but even so, she was still thrown hundreds of meters away by the hurricane-like impact. The dark clouds that had piled up were lifted, revealing a fiery sunset in the sky. The setting sun dyed everything in the sky a reddish-orange. The smoke of gunpowder had yet to dissipate. And countless people in Zindu saw the explosion, and speculations spread among the crowd. Chu Yao stopped on the rooftop of a tall building, panting heavily, her eyes fixed on the thick smoke hundreds of meters ahead. When everything returned to calm, the infant-controlled robot finally appeared in front of Chu Yao again. Seeing its appearance, a sly smile appeared on Chu Yao's face. The attack she threw with all her strength had severed one of its arms. The mecha's left arm was broken in the middle, its circuits and internal parts were exposed, and sparks flickered from time to time. It seemed to wobble slightly, but it was still standing in the sky, and it turned its head as if searching for a target. Chu Yao hid behind the solar panel quietly, took out a spider pill, and swallowed a few. It turned out that this was the real celestial mecha. She compared it in her mind. Foundation establishment cultivators were not suited for this at all. Lasers, missiles, lightsabers, shields, countless methods, it was estimated that only in the golden core stage could they compete with it. At this point, Chu Yao did not want to fight anymore. She still had a way to deal with it, but she could only deal with it, and it was difficult to seriously injure it. But the doll obviously did not want to let her go. Chu Yao's back felt cold, the familiar feeling was like it was being locked in again. Looking from a distance, Mech raised his right hand, and the laser cannon in his palm was already aimed at this direction. Chu Yao gritted her teeth and turned to avoid the wind. The air behind her was scorching hot. Pinch the cat, you still want to hit? In that case, I will risk my life to take off your other arm too. Chu Yao stepped onto the Zhuang sword and was about to fight it to the death. Suddenly, she noticed something strange coming from the distant sky. Her consciousness during the Foundation establishment stage could not go that far, and she just felt as if something in the team was coming. Did Yalai Company finally make a move? Please like and share.